This is Abe Friedtanzer from Awards Buzz, and I'm very excited to be speaking with Nick Park and Merlin Crossingham about uh, Wallace and Gromit, then just Most Fowl. How are you both doing today?
Really
Uh,
good, thanks.
Very good, thanks. I'm sorry I've got a bit of a cold, but ignore it.
I'll try not to catch it through the computer, but I appreciate
Yeah.
you being here today and promise you a lively conversation. I had the chance to see this film at AFI Fest, which was a lot of fun with a big, adoring crowd. And I know that most people will see it on Netflix, but there's something I think about getting to see it with an audience of people.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's very thrilling, especially those. We've worked with this film for like 4 years, and you think of jokes kind of 4 years ago, and then forget that they're funny, and so satisfying to hear the audience laughing.
There are also a lot of people who clearly understand references to certain characters they're excited to see, and that's a sort of added bonus, I think, because for anybody who's new to this, it will be enjoyable, but for those who have been following these characters through the years, there's that extra added joy, I think.
For sure. It's
Yeah.
it really is, and it's multi-layered as well. So um it's like Nick says, it is a joy to watch it with an audience. But we do hope that people watch it more than once.
Mm.
That's fair.
Mm.
Well, it's certainly short, which is nice because I feel like sometimes you have to carve out so much time that if you wanted to watch this film twice, that's about the length of a lot of films these days. So it's nice to be able to fit it in like that.
But it's quite a
Yeah.
contemporary thing, isn't it? Long animated film. Well, long films, but animated films have sort of joined that club as well. Um, I remember back on Chicken Run and Were Rabbit, they were all sort of within the 75, 80 minute kind of range, and that was the standard back then.
Mm.
Well, as you say, it's been a while since the last feature length Wallace and Gromit film. How much has changed within the industry and just in terms of what goes into making a feature length animated film?
Well, I mean, the story is the same problem. It's trying to think up as with all the Wallace and Gromits. We're waiting for that idea. And then that idea that suggests a movie that really has got legs and lots of comic potential and originality and
Mm.
uniqueness and charm. That's what we're looking for. And
Yeah,
as long as we have all those things, we can set sail with it. And you know,
I think it's always difficult to make a film. Don't think it matters when it is. It's making a getting a film off the ground f- and made for anybody. I'd be surprised if anybody said making a film was easy. And I think that's kind of a good thing because
yeah,
if there's always a healthy bit of struggle behind making a film, I think it means you really have to believe in it to put everything in it to make it. So I mean, apart from sort of practical things that have changed over the years, the actual making of films, apart from the fact that there's more animated films each year than there were,
yeah.
back in the
And the
day.
last one, the last feature, Curse of the Were Rabbit, we shot entirely on 35mm film, whereas we're now totally digital stills cameras. So and that kind of gives generally a big safety net that we didn't used to have before. If a shot goes wrong or any issues occur, we've got more chance of being able to fix things in post.
Mm.
And and we also helps speed up the animation as well a little bit in terms of if there's characters who have to leave the ground or fly. We use rigs, and the animator doesn't have to spend time, with wires or fishing lines supporting puppets, and the rigs get painted out in post. That kind of thing.
I really enjoyed the creativity in the film, particularly I'm thinking about when Wallace wakes up and he's set up this very intricate series of things that he doesn't have to do anything, which
Mm.
obviously took him so long. And he spends all his time trying to figure out ways to do that. Can you just walk me through the conception of that absurdly complicated level of relaxation?
Yeah, that's Wallace, really, isn't it?
It is.
That's the comedy, is that these things are all totally unnecessary when you look at them.
And
Um,
his starting point is to use a sledgehammer to crack a small nut. So he always finds the longest way around to do the most simple job. But and I
Yeah,
think that's where the humor starts from, isn't it?
yeah, and we just have great fun thinking up these contraptions. That they've got to be ridiculous, and as you say, too big, too unnecessary. And but it's that where stop motion is where you can have such a lot of fun because you can build the stuff for real, that's where it's so that's the appeal, I think, for us as filmmakers, is actually making the stuff. And it's like being an inventor yourself because you don't have to actually know about the tech. You can just, through animation, it can all work.
I think like in the beginning of Vengeance Most Fowl, that contraption serves a story point, which is that Wallace has completely mechanized his morning routine, and Gromit has kind of had it up to here with all of this stupid technology. And so designing it and making it funny is one thing, but making it work for the story is sort of the starting point, really. And making it funny is what happens because of that is Wallace's DNA. But the thing we had to be careful of is that getting that balance between not making Gromit really upset or angry, or not being too, for want of a better term, abusive of Gromit, not too rough with him, so that it was that machine in particular, that whole sequence of machines was well-meaning from Wallace, but kind of just tips over the balance in terms of Gromit's perception of how acceptable it is. So it is story-led, and that's often where the comedy comes from as well.
It's a great way also to describe Norbot, who I think is such a great character who is so expected in this universe. But also it reminded me a little bit of something like AI, where we're like, here's a great way we can make things easy, but we're not considering any of the implications or what you lose, like the fact that Gromit enjoys tending to his garden and doesn't just want it, easily worked on. Can you talk about that whole character?
Yeah. Yeah, that actually the original idea in the first place was before Feathers actually was late breaking into the idea. Actually, it was started off about 20 years ago, actually, while making Curse of the Were-Rabbit. What if Wallace were to invent a smart gnome, a robot gnome, to help Gromit in the garden? And as you say, it's all totally unnecessary. But we had great fun developing Norbot as a robot character. He was quite a challenge, to make him in the first place. The guys who built him with the armatures inside, had to find really tiny joints to fit in his very thin arms. Very, very design led, and the fun of him just as a humorous kind of character in the film was what lots of my early drawings were a bit more kind of traditionally part of Wallace Gromit's universe with organic mouths, but I hadn't really thought through how he might work in reality. Why would he have an organic clay mouth in that world if he's made by Wallace? So we kind of worked on that, didn't we, and decided to give him a sort of ventriloquist sort of mouth with a swinging lip, that went up and down, and it was far more comical and fitting for what we wanted, more something that Wallace would have created, and with the voice of Reece Shearsmith, really, really brought him to life.
And when we were doing the sort of animation development / rehearsals with the animators right at the beginning of the film, he had articulated eyebrows and moved his eyes around a lot, and all of that sort of made him look like a boy in a suit. And we didn't want that. We wanted people to really recognize that he was a machine. And so we stripped back all of that. Even I think the first shot we moved his eyes, first couple of shots, and then we realized that even that was wrong. So we just kept his eyes kind of staring, his face blank, and kind of made him move much more, I suppose, stereotypically robotically, and that really helped him he said a fine balance between character and robot, or characterful robot, and anthropomorphizing him into
Mm.
a sort of a human,
Yeah,
very sort of articulate. And Wallace would make a simplistic version of a robot as well, even though
yeah,
he's very advanced.
yeah.
Um,
And also that spoke very much to the original notion of Norbot turning evil, and the well, not any spoilers, but the way it was very much inspired by Village of the Damned. I don't know if you know that movie from the 60s, where the kids are possessed by an alien force and they walk around very stiff and just all turn at once and things like that. Um, and the way we would use these gnomes, to really sort of spook Gromit and gaslight him and make him think he's out of touch and losing it. And yeah, so that brought him both, as Moan says, the comedy, but also the sinisterness of the gnomes as well. And yeah, we found we'd made a gnome noir movie. We'd begun a whole new genre, perhaps.
yeah. And Abe, I think you kind of hit the nail right on the head at the beginning in your question, is that Gromit just loves the process of gardening. He loves the doing of it. And what Wallace, his insensitivity in making this very efficient. Norbot's very good. For the first time in his life, Wallace has actually made something that's actually marvelous at what he set out to do, but in a very ruthless, efficiency is king kind of way. And and that also sits in thematically with our story, which is, you know, in fact the way we've made the film, which is very hands-on. It's the human touch is really important to stay connected with.
Well, I have a feeling that this film will end up being in Oscar contention, but since this is awards buzz, I'm also curious, what have both of you seen recently? Is there another animated film that you've seen this year that's really sticking with you as particularly impressive and awards worthy?
Um, I haven't got to see any yet. I mean, I'm looking forward to Wild Robot, all the things I've seen. Um, and yeah, sorry.
Carry on, Nick.
Oh no, sorry, I forgot. I have actually seen Inside Out 2, yeah, which was very emotional.
Yeah, and I'm the
Very,
same. We've literally fallen out at the end of post production and delivering the film straight on the road. I am looking forward to seeing Wild Robot, but I have seen Memoirs of a Snail, which I do think. I mean, the kind of kindred spirit in Adam Elliott with the whole stop motion side of things, um, and yet Inside Out 2, just because of its monumental success. I'm also curious. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm curious to see Flow.
This is, well, I appreciate both of you taking some time to talk with me today. I hope you won't have to wait another 19 or so years for another Wallace and Gromit feature, but people will have plenty of time to enjoy this one.
yeah, thank you.